There have been multiple times where men have hit on me right in front of my boyfriend and he just doesn't do anything, not even a reaction. It makes me question things like, does he not realize what's happening? Does he not care? Is he avoiding confrontation? Or does he just not see me that way? I feel like I know where guys' minds are gonna go, and then I feel like I know the females' rebuttals to this, so we're gonna try to break this down.
I feel like maybe he's the type of guy who doesn't give her attention and doesn't make her feel good, but he also doesn't want her to feel that with anybody else.
Oh, okay.
So
this is a hot take. Is he confrontational in other situations, or does he avoid it at all costs? If he avoids it at all costs, then his ego says it's weak to avoid confrontation because you're supposed to be a man. Lie to yourself and say that's not what's happening.
So it's like a coping mechanism that point.
Like men and women living in completely separate worlds.
Yes.
Women sitting there like, oh, he's not sticking up for me when somebody is hitting on me. And the man being like, well, I'm just so content in our relationship. I shouldn't have to. You shouldn't expect it of me. You should be happy that I trust you. And let's kind of rewind the tape here to get to the root cause. What's up? I'm Breeze Oliver. This is Kerushi Drake. We are back for another episode of Love Up for Debate. We just ask, before I get into this story, that you hit the like and subscribe button and help us keep growing. We appreciate all the feedback and all the love that you guys been giving us. Today, I have a story that I think is a really good, relatable one. And I feel like I know where guys' minds are going to go. And then I feel like I know the females' rebuttals to this. So you're going to be pretty surprised by the advice and opinions here, but we're going to try to walk through this, I think, and break this down. So without further ado, I'm going to read this story, and when you guys feel the need, hop in the comments, give us your opinions, give your initial reactions, and then once you kind of hear us, walk this through, see if you still have that same initial opinion. Okay. All right. Without further ado,
let's get into
it. Okay. All right. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm overthinking this or if something is actually off. There have been multiple times where men have hit on me right in front of my boyfriend and he just doesn't do anything, not even a reaction. Sometimes he'll acknowledge it to me after, but he never says anything in the moment. What confuses me more is that he often acts like it's about him instead of me. For example, today he walked me to the train. We were going down the stairs. He was in front of me and I was behind him. A guy walking up, clearly looking at me and saying something inappropriate. My boyfriend turns around and goes something like, "Why is he staring at me like that?" And I'm just thinking, he wasn't even looking at you. He was talking to me. Another time we were in the park and a guy on a scooter literally turned around to check me out. My boyfriend's reaction was, "I thought he was going to rob us." It's like he either doesn't register that I'm being hit on or he reframes it into something else. I don't need him to start fights or be aggressive, but I also feel weird that he never acknowledges it in the moment or says anything to the guy. It makes me question things like, does he not realize what's happening? And does he not care? Is he avoiding confrontation, or does he just not see me that way? My next, so that's the story.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah. Is he avoiding confrontation? Does he not see me that way? Does he not realize what's happening? There's a lot of things to kind of walk through here.
This is so interesting.
Yes, it is. It is. And I feel like I know where men's brains are going to go and where females' brains are going to go. But I think it's a lot deeper than we will give this credit to.
Yeah.
So I'll let you give me your first reactions here.
First reactions. It was just so funny in there when he just is not really sensing what is really going on when these guys are hitting on her or saying something. It cracked me up when he thought that the guy was talking about him.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. I just feel like he's just.
So the question is, do you think when he thinks the guy is going to rob us, or when he says why is that guy staring at me? Do you think he just lacks situational awareness, or do you think these are some sort of kind of like a
defense
weird mechanisms?
Yeah, I was thinking it could go either way. Mm-hmm. There are people who are just completely naive and oblivious to what is truly going on. Right. And his responses definitely sound like that. On the outside, if I think that would be my thought. Mm-hmm. If I were in her shoes and you reacted in that way, I would think were we just not in the same place?
Yeah.
Hearing the same things?
Yeah.
Are we in just different realities right now? I would be so confused.
I feel like there's a way to test that.
Oh.
Well, not
okay.
test it. Just like I feel like there's a way to know. I feel like, and I don't know if, and people don't do this enough, but like we actually do it, but then we'll try to chalk it up and find a reasoning for it. Consistent behavior.
Okay, yes. That does tell you everything that you need to know.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we'll try to cope for, a situation that isn't, it's abnormal to maybe other behavior, or it lines up, right? Because I feel like maybe she doesn't question this if he normally is just blah on everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't care, or lacks situational awareness, or just doesn't or is just sometimes willfully ignorant. It could be willful ignorance. However, if she's questioning it, sometimes you have to look at other behaviors when it comes to other situations. And does he consistently express this type of behavior? Because you can, like, if he's kind of a bit passive, or just seems to kind of be in his own world half the time, then you could maybe be like, okay, I can kind of like figure out that he probably just isn't paying attention, or he really just is maybe a little slow. I don't know. But what if he's a smart dude, pretty intelligent, and usually on it, but every time these situations happen, he seems to like be totally oblivious.
Yeah.
Then I could see a world where you start questioning, like, okay, what's really going on here?
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I would say back to.
I like that, yeah, because I wouldn't have thought of that myself.
Well,
honestly.
I think well, again, I think we do think of this. We just don't put it on paper, right? Like, again, when your partner starts doing actions that are outside of their character, we tend to notice.
Yeah, that is very true.
We tend to notice, and then that's where gaslighting comes in. Because this is not a story of gaslighting, but what I'm saying is that's where gaslighting comes in, because that's when your partner starts to try to convince you that this is not happening. It is.
Yeah.
And your radar is like, no, this is usually how you act in these situations, and then this is the only time you're not doing this, right? So I think we just don't pay attention.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to pay attention and be observant. Now, that's not where this story, I really was headed with this story, but just to kind of
it's a great point
give a little
to
bit of
make
insight
in the
on, I think we should pay more attention to our partner's consistent behavior, and then base our opinions or our theories on how they usually behave in most situations, right?
Yeah. I like that. I learned a lesson today.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else? Yeah. So so do you have anything else in terms of, obviously he doesn't know when, like, he's not knowing when she's being hit on, and she feels a way about it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I have like another reaction.
Okay.
To
Give
this.
it to me. Yeah. I want to hear it.
A part of me feels like, oh, I don't know, because that is a little harsh.
No, be harsh if you got to.
Okay.
I want initial reactions, because
right.
I think people have these, we talk about this, right? Where people have their normal reaction and then they never revisit it again. And so they never even think through it, right? And so it's like, no, have your initial reaction because you're human. And then once you have that reaction, let's talk through it and see if you still have that same opinion, or if you're like, okay,
that.
you know what, that was because again, most of our initial reactions, and we talked about this a little earlier, most of our initial reactions are just based on a few things, but they're based on societal things, right? Just this is how society has kind of trained us to be, which this story tends to hit on a lot of, which is gender roles, which I think this story really, really plays into, and we're going to talk about it. But I also think that when you have initial reactions, they could be immature, they could be irrational, they could be emotional. Right. That's why people that's why if you have anger problems, most people would say, hey, take a step back, breathe for 10 minutes and then come back and see if you feel the same. Right. Because when you're mad at somebody or angry at somebody and you're in that moment, like you're ready to chop their head off. But you give it like 30 minutes or even a day, you might kind of forgive them and be like, all right, I was overacting a little bit, which is, so we do that not just in those scenarios, but we do that just, I think, in a lot of our initial reactions to stuff because we lack self-awareness a lot of times, or we just don't consider it. So that's why I want your bare kind of initial reaction, because somebody's going to feel that same way and we can kind of talk through it. And if you still feel that way, then at least you're consistent in that. Or you could be like, you know what? Yeah, I actually don't feel that way.
Of course. No, that was great. Thank you for that. I hope that I can make sense when I say this. But I feel like maybe he's the type of guy who like doesn't give her attention and doesn't like make her feel good, but he also doesn't want her to feel that with anybody else as well.
Oh, okay.
So
this is a hot take.
Yeah.
That's a hot take.
I think that it's
I'm not
one of
mad
those,
at
like,
it,
he
but that's a
doesn't
hot
want to
take.
acknowledge it because then it validates it for her. That's how I'm feeling.
Wait, he doesn't want to acknowledge.
He doesn't want to acknowledge that the guys are hitting on her or are interested in her or are like, you know, reacting and coming to her.
Sure.
Because like maybe depending on what it is, like it might make her feel good and he doesn't want to validate that. He doesn't want her to feel good. And it makes me wonder if he also doesn't make her feel good and he just doesn't want her to feel those good feelings he's keeping her from it.
That's a beast of an opinion.
I'm
not mad at it. No.
I feel dark thinking that way, but like
the messed up part is I'm not mad at that because it happens.
Yeah.
People get in competition with their partner or they don't do what they should for their partner, but they don't So anybody else that may do it, they're gonna downplay it.
Yes,
they're gonna downplay it.
Oh my goodness!
I've actually the crazy part is like I've been through that. I've been through that where it almost felt because the person I was with didn't care for the type of attention I get, and rightfully so. That's okay. So they didn't care for the attention that I got, like on social media and stuff like that. So instead of contributing to it, they would do the opposite and try to tear it down. And it wasn't them trying to tear me down. I knew that's at the time I would take it personal. But looking back, I was like, no, they felt, and it wasn't because they weren't doing the things that other people were. It was just like, I got to knock him down a peg because other people are giving him way too much attention and it makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel a certain type of way. And I don't want him to get a big head or be cocky or leave me or, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it's like, if I can keep him down, if I can, and it's a human behavior. So I'm not criticizing the girl. I totally understand it. We were younger, so that makes sense. But you have a point. This is not abnormal. And I absolutely didn't think of this angle. But yeah, it could be not acknowledging it because he doesn't want her to or he doesn't want it to look like other people are giving her this attention that he personally is not giving her.
Yes. That is exactly how I was feeling. Besides, like, of course, like him just being completely like oblivious
right.
to, you know, that's like the first, like, because of how he was responding to it. It's like, where are you right now? You know what I mean? But then, like just when I like really dug deeper, I was like, okay, like those type of responses as well could very well be him refusing to like acknowledge it or validate it because he doesn't want her to feel good.
So
he's just going to act like it didn't happen in the way that she thought that it happened.
I feel like there are so many reasons this could be happening, and that's a really good one. And I think the problem here's where I struggle, where it's like, because I want to sit here and be like, look, man, as men, we know when guys are hitting on our girls, so like you can't. Like, let's stop acting dumb. So they're like, we got to attack it from the angle where he knows it's happening and he's playing willfully ignorant. However, I make the mistake a lot of thinking just because it's the way I behave or it's something that I wouldn't recognize or notice that like everybody should be able to.
Yes.
I don't know this guy. He might I don't even say like lack situational awareness. It might just be that, you know, he's oblivious and he is in his own world. And, you know, he might have more of a like a protection, like a protection thing about him where for him it's, he's checking his surroundings for like threats as opposed to people hitting on his girl. Right. So it's like he thought the guy was trying to rob them.
Yeah, that's
right.
Definitely like you're kind of like on high alert, like you think that maybe
right. So it's, you know,
I can see that.
Right. So like again, I don't want to take away from this guy. I don't want to, you know, immediately peg him to be, you know, behaving this way for this specific reason. We will talk about each reason that it could be, for sure. I do want to go into like
I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go into different, you know, scenarios here and when I personally think could be happening. But your take, I just didn't really consider, and it happens. And so, and that is something that would be something that she would have to answer to, right? That would be something like if he makes her feel special in other moments and he is really attentive to her needs and her things, then maybe that's not it. But if he does, again, consistent behavior, if he is not, if he's not the guy that's like consistently, making you feel good about yourself and doing the things he should as a boyfriend, and then anytime somebody else attempts to, he ignores it or plays it as if it's something else, then I guess you can start to kind of put two and two together. That's just something for her that we don't know. Like, that's just information that, that we don't have.
But definitely something for you all to think about if you were in the same situation.
So, this is how I think the listeners will react to this. Okay. This is what I think the men will do. I think the men will say, oh, she wants this guy to be confrontational and she wants this guy to stick up for her. And maybe he's so secure in the relationship that he's not worried about other men and that he trusts her. All right. And I think it has some validity in the argument. I definitely think there's some validity in the argument. There are guys that are super secure in their relationship and they just don't care about other guys. Again, as humans, I think that every so often insecurity can creep in, or just not, I don't even want to call it insecurity, but just, the idea, that maybe, you could lose your girl at some point, right? Like, or another guy could get your girl, right? Like, we want to be egotistical, but at the end of the day, we're full of ego for sure. But that ego is this egocentric bias that we have is that like, we'll try to like downplay things because our ego is like, it's our defense mechanism, right? We're too egotistical to think that like another guy could take my girl. We don't want to think about that, right? Like, we're all just kind of men are just we're just super competitive that way. And I think the idea for men is that them thinking that this ask that she's wanting is like her wanting him to be this like knight in shining armor and defend her honor and stand up for her and, and be this fighter in the streets. And I think the way she talks about this maybe sounds that way because she may also not realize what's going on internally as well.
That's good.
So what I think a woman's response is like, no, I just want, like he's not acknowledging when other guys hit on me. It makes me feel like he doesn't want me, or he doesn't
like care.
He doesn't care, right? But that's not really what she's saying. She's not saying he doesn't care. She wants to feel like he thinks the relationship is so valuable that when something threatens it, he stands up against it. That's this is what I personally think.
Okay.
I think that's what she is saying. And I don't think women knows how to voice that communication the correct way. And then men's response to that is like, I'm not gonna like fight every guy that like walks past you and looks at you. You know what I mean? And I'm so secure in our relationship, like you should want me to trust you and not care about other dudes hitting on you. And it's like, she even said it in the thing. She doesn't want you to fight people, right? It's probably the opposite. Most girls don't want their man like fighting in the street.
We don't enjoy that, honestly. Like, I can't speak for all women, but majority of us, we would rather not like have you out there fighting and looking like hostile in the streets with your lady by your side as well. It's not a good look, and it makes us feel uncomfortable, even though like you're defending us. Absolutely. But yeah, it's a weird situation to be in.
So what it does is when he doesn't acknowledge that it's happening, and she feels unprotected, she feels like the relationship isn't valued. It creates this like attachment anxiety. So she feels as if, his lack of acknowledgement of it, because I feel like she doesn't think he's oblivious to it. I feel like she really is kind of inching towards, he knows it's happening and he's being willfully ignorant.
Okay.
And that's not like, that's what I think she feels. And I can't speak for what's going on in his brain because I don't know his behavior in his life, just in regular life, everyday life.
Of course.
So I got to speak to like what I think, my opinion on the matter, and what I feel like she's getting at, and what a lot of women would get at if their man didn't kind of, say something, do something, acknowledge something. She doesn't want him to fist fight people, but she does want him to acknowledge, and that makes her feel protected. It makes her feel like, there are subtle things you can do. If somebody is catcalling your girl, or, they're riding by on the scooter saying inappropriate things, right? It doesn't mean you have to like drop kick people and body slam people in the middle of the street, but, putting your arm around your girl, putting it on her lower back, grabbing her hand and holding her, bringing her in, even asking after the fact, hey, are you okay? I noticed that guy was like being inappropriate. I'm not the most, confrontational guy, which we'll get into that as well. Because the other side of that is, let me finish this thought. Those are subtle ways that would satisfy her and let her know, I value this relationship and I want you to feel protected. And it does bother me when other guys say stuff to you inappropriately, or catcall you, or disrespect you, or anything. And I see that they're hitting on you for sure. And I'm glad guys find you attractive, because you're very attractive. Yeah. And I will reassure you of that. But also, I think that's just like I think that's the friction here. I think that's like men and women living in completely separate worlds.
Yes.
Women sitting there like, oh, he's not sticking up for me, when somebody is hitting on me. And the man being like, well, I'm just so content in our relationship that, I shouldn't have to. And you shouldn't expect that of me. You should be happy that I trust you. And it's like, you guys are just living on two different worlds. She doesn't want you to beat people up, and you don't, and you're reading this situation completely wrong, but either being oblivious. So being oblivious to it just makes it look like you lack situational awareness. That's not a good thing as for anybody, for one, but as a man, that's actually like one of our strongest attributes is situational awareness. The running joke here, and I hate to, run with, societal kind of gender roles, but the running joke is that like women just walk through, and they're just like singing in their head, and men are like checking the exits, and they're looking at like that guy who's got beady eyes, and the dude over there that has, he's got his hand in his pocket and he's moving all shifty, right? Like
yes.
Like that's kind of like the running joke. So when you don't have that situational awareness, or you're sure that you lack it, it's kind of like it's not a good look, right?
Yeah.
So being oblivious,
and it's unsettling for us women, too.
Very, for sure. So that part isn't working in your favor. And if you're just ignoring it altogether, again, it's also working against you, because you're not, because again, she doesn't feel protected. She doesn't feel like you value the relationship. The third thing here, and the other angle outside of yours, could be a man who doesn't do well with confrontation.
That's a good one.
And what I would maybe think, and again, got to check his behavior across the board, is he confrontational in other situations, or does he avoid it at all costs? Because if he avoids it at all costs, then he's avoiding it here, and his ego again says, hey, listen, it's weak to avoid confrontation, because you're supposed to be a man. Again, back to gender roles. These gender roles have us in these, these men versus women type, ideologies, where men are supposed to have specific attributes and women are supposed to have specific attributes. And we have difference of things, but there are things that definitely blend and mesh. And I feel like as men, we take it much harder, or we like, again, our ego kind of masks our, attributes about us that we feel might not be masculine. And so we try to, hide it. So him acting like, instead of, somebody coming by and saying something inappropriate to his girl, and him being afraid of confrontation, says, okay, lie to yourself and say that's not what's happening.
Yeah. So it's like a coping mechanism at that point.
Yeah. And I could see that being an issue, but
because it probably makes you feel like less than a man.
Yeah.
When you have that fear of like confronting someone.
For sure.
So telling yourself that wasn't the case, that's not what happened.
Yes.
Makes you feel a little more manly.
Right. And the reason I'm against men on the whole, oh, you want me to be confrontational? Like, I'm not going to be confrontational. I'm not going to fight every guy that says something wrong with you. The reason that's a bad argument, at least for me, is because y'all will be confrontational in every other aspect of life. Somebody steps on your shoes, you're ready to fight. Somebody says something sideways to you at the gas station, you're ready to go off. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Yeah, like you guys are we tend to be confrontational, not all of us, but a lot of us tend to be confrontational in every situation. But because this one you want to be right in, you want to defend your honor and defend why you're not saying nothing to these guys, is because she shouldn't expect you to be confrontational. Well, I mean, that shouldn't be the argument, because we are confrontational a lot of times in a lot of other situations. But but this one situation is the one you're not confrontational in, and the one you're going to argue about it for. It's a bad argument. And again, this is me kind of jumping the gun and saying I know what guys' responses are going to be. Because I've seen it and I've heard it, and I'm a guy, so I know how guys think. Yeah. So if he's afraid of confrontation, I think men find that to be emasculating. And I want to sit here and tell men right now that that is a normal human thing. It actually is more common, not only more common than you think. It should be. We aren't like, it's a strength to be non-confrontational and find other ways to deal with problems, to deal with things that affect us in a bad way, in a negative way, and finding other ways to, finding other solutions to those. But I think in these gender roles, in this society that says your gender role is to be the man and punch people in their face when they disrespect you, it's actually like detrimental to men, because it forces you to maybe go against your nature. And I know they say men are violent, men are angry, but a lot of men also don't care for confrontation.
Yeah,
a lot of men really don't care for confrontation like that, and so it's a strength, not a weakness. It means that you have compassion for people.
For sure.
It means that you have empathy for people. It means that you care about negative interactions with people. That's not a bad thing. Men walk around being like, we're scared to be vulnerable. We're scared to show emotion. And you'll again enter the red pill manosphere and being like, yeah, because the woman's going to use it against us, and they're going to be red, and we're going to, and we can't show emotion, and we can't. No. You guys use it. We use it against each other. We talked shit to each other for being emotional, for being vulnerable, right? But those things are not weaknesses. Those are strengths. That vulnerability that you have is your empathy and your ability to relate to other people and show emotion and care about people. There's nothing wrong with that, and you're supposed to be that with your girl. You're supposed to take care of her and protect her, right? I mean, I know I'm talking about gender roles, but essentially, she wants protection, and you can give it, and it doesn't have to come at the cost of you getting into bloody fistfights. There is conflict resolution in much more peaceful ways, but we're all just scared to be quote unquote not masculine about everything. So we approach everything with these like prerequisite gender roles that shouldn't really exist, that work to your detriment. And so, I think the guy may be just like trying to avoid confrontation, but as a man that looks emasculating. So instead I'll dress it up as, that guy was like trying to say something to me, but that's his coping mechanism, I think personally. But also I like your angle. That could absolutely be true. It could be where, if I downplay this enough, I don't have to act like other guys out here also want you and will compliment you,
Yeah. I wish we had more context with these stories, because then it would just be easier to like really pinpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely see like your point of view.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just so crazy. Like just how we have been conditioned to, just believe that men have to act this certain way and they can't show emotions. And And then women were just expected also to just be, like essentially like the soft girls and like very feminine and
Yeah.
relying on men and such. And I mean, and at the end of the day, like we're all just humans,
Yep.
Yeah. And we all have the same emotions, and we deal with fears and anger and insecurities, and like we all deal with the same things.
Yeah.
We're just expected to like handle them differently and suppress certain emotions more than others, depending on your gender. And I think that's really sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And we blame everybody for it, except that we usually are just doing it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Men started emasculating other men well before women did. I promise you that.
They did. A story just popped into my head that you told me. Very highly inappropriate to say on the podcast. But I remember you telling me about like just way back in the day. I think it went back to even like the Roman Empire and how men would treat other men to show their dominance.
And it wasn't even them being inappropriate. To them, it wasn't being inappropriate. It was like, I'm here to embarrass you.
It's insane that y'all have been dealing with this since like, I'm probably the beginning of time.
So it's always been, right. So it's always been a weak argument for men to say stuff like, if I act vulnerable or if I show emotion, then like women will treat you as such. No, they learned it from us. We told them that this is not masculine. You realize like as men, we get to set the tone for what's masculine. That's the beauty of it. Matter of fact, your confidence in your emotion is way more masculine than masking it. Masking it shows fear.
Yeah.
Masking it shows fear, and then you fearing showing that fear, right? Instead of being confident in your emotion and dealing with it head on. As a man, it's okay to be like, I deal with anxiety because you're human and you can deal with anxiety. It's how you approach that anxiety. Do you shy away from things when you feel anxious, or do you approach it head on? That's the difference between the masculine and the not masculine. However, if you are lying to yourself, and if your ego has taken control where you refuse to even be self-aware, that's the emasculating part. Where you refuse to even be who you naturally are, where you're scared to show who you really are, that's the emasculating part. And I know we kind of got off on a tangent because the story is really kind of not about that, but I think it's just really important to talk about. I mean, it can be about that if that's what he's doing, if he's scared of confrontation. He could either be oblivious, which says, hey, buddy, you got to get back to your, like, situational awareness is really important. Not just as a man, but as a human being. The second thing is your girl is not asking you to be James Bond out here. She just wants acknowledgement that these things are going on, and then showing that you value the relationship enough to say or do something about it. Not explicitly physically, but even mentioning it, or even a subtle movement to her lets her know, like, hey, I got you. I'm protecting you. That's really all she's asking for. And I think with her, communication. A lot of things break down to just communication.
It does.
It breaks down to...
We say that in, I think, almost every episode.
We do.
Because you just can't get away from it. That is number one.
And you got to talk these things through so you can get to the core of what you're really feeling and why you're really feeling it. But the communication aspect of it says, okay, I feel weird when you don't acknowledge that I've been hit on, and I don't even know why I feel weird. Like, should I even care about that? And it's like, well, it's probably not that. It's just, it's a deeper meaning. It's this lack of like feeling protected. It's this lack of like, jealousy. If you act on jealousy, it's seen as a negative, and it is. But showing like a little bit of jealousy, like showing like, hold on, like, I can't be having my girl, like I can't be having dudes hit on my girl. Like, it makes your girl feel special, right? It makes her feel like, okay, like, like he's a little worried about losing me.
Yes.
And
like,
you could be 100% secure. This is not about that. This is just about simple human emotion and how girls feel.
Yes, we want to feel like we still got it.
Yeah.
We want to feel like even after, depending on how long like you've been together, like after all these years, right? We've been together for 8 years,
Yeah.
and like, and I feel like you still like acknowledge certain things like that, you know, and you react to them. You're not oblivious to it.
No, for sure.
You don't downplay it.
Yeah, for sure. Know when a guy's hitting on you,
but also
something.
like deep down, it's like, oh, like, you know, like I love the fact that we've been together for 8 years, and you're like, you know, this is my girl.
Yeah,
like,
for
you
sure.
know, and
that's really all this is. Like claiming your girl. It makes them feel protected. It makes them feel like you value the relationship. And so outside of you just being totally oblivious, outside of him being totally oblivious to it, that's really all she's asking for. She just doesn't know how to ask correctly because she doesn't really know why she feels that way. But that is why she feels that way. And I think and again, that's why when men can't show their vulnerability or show their emotional side, they completely ruin communication. I'm not saying men are the reason communication breaks down. It's definitely men versus women for sure.
yes.
Women sometimes I think they fall victim to expecting certain things because society says that you should expect them, especially from men. I think women fall victim to that, even though a lot of us set that tone. But I think men fall victim to, hey, if I show any emotion, if I show any, vulnerability, I'm seen as weak. So I'm going to act macho in all situations and never show my true self. And then we can't communicate because I'm not even being truthful in how I feel about things, you know?
That happens all too often.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And again, dude, I'm telling you, there's way more understanding and way more acceptance of confidence when you're confidently non-confrontational, when you're confidently vulnerable, you know? And so doing those, like being that way, people will accept it, and you shouldn't care if they do or not, because you're human, right? And the more we're able to do that, the more that people will stop these detrimental gender attributions that we should all have, you know? Because it's like, if I'm not saying men everywhere should just go on like a crying spree. Okay, that's not what I'm saying, right? But I am saying if you feel emotion, if you feel a way about your girl, if your girl's doing something you don't like, or if you know what I mean, she and at the same time, when you show those emotions and show those vulnerabilities, your girl actually will feel more trustworthy when she approaches you about
1,000%. Yes. We have been through this before. Sorry if this is TMI.
Good.
My love.
Do you think? I can edit it if I need.
Right. Yeah,
Go
you
ahead.
can edit
Go
it.
ahead.
But I feel like we've been through that a little bit with the beginning of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And you are very masculine. You like if you look up the definition of masculinity, like I feel like your photo would be there. But you did have that hard time of like being vulnerable and like sharing your like true emotions, you know? And that went on for a while. And then I feel like finally you grew to the point where you opened up and you became more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I did not emasculate you by any means. Mm-mm. It was honestly like really refreshing. Like we women want you men to be comfortable enough to show us all of your emotions.
And the confidence in that probably helps, right? Like I'm confidently that way. It's like you can't even down me because I don't care about being vulnerable. I don't feel less of a man. Listen, I can cry in front of you and then punch you dead in the face. I don't care. Like I beat your ass and cry. What are you going to say to me then?
At the same time.
I don't care. Like I don't care. That's why I laugh at the whole like simp thing and the whole, no, I don't care about none of that. I'll whoop you and still cry at a rom-com.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll confidently do it too and feel very secure with myself. And that's the problem.
I love that.
You men are not secure with yourself. That's why Red Pill exists. That's why the manosphere exists.
That's why your mental health is taking a major hit right now.
Because we're not ourselves. We're not even confidently ourselves. And then we're just pointing the fingers at the opposite sex to blame. When honestly, they're just wanting your true self. They're wanting you to take lead and to set the tone, set the pace, and then they'll follow. They'll follow, but you got to do it in a healthy way. So, the communication between her and him, she has to know how to, it's very simple, because you can have that conversation where she says, hey, like these guys were like hitting on me. That guy said something like super inappropriate to me. And it does make me feel away when that happens. And you never really say anything about it. And it kind of makes me feel like a little, I don't know. It just makes me feel kind of like you don't value the relationship. You don't value me. If it makes me feel a little unprotected, I guess. You know, I know it's like, you know, again, men are going to say like, oh, we shouldn't get jealous or anything. But it's like, it's not about that. It's really not about him being jealous of other men.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Because if you don't feel the feelings of jealousy, like that's fine. That's
fine.
normal
There's nothing
too.
wrong.
Like,
Yeah. And so her saying like, I'm not asking you to be jealous. I'm not asking you to like fight people in the middle of the street. But at the same time, you know, I want to know that like you value that you're protecting the relationship, that you care about the relationship enough to like, would it even affect you if one of these guys came by and said something super nice to me and then I left with them? Like, how would you feel about that?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
Yes.
what do you value in this relationship? And again, you could be so nonchalant about things and so content in your relationship that maybe you aren't scared of that. Maybe there's a world where that exists, but that you still can show your partner that you value her and that you will protect her and that you know,
Yes.
and that you do see that this is happening and you're there, like you're not going to stand for it.
This also like boils down to you have to stop thinking about yourself and think about your partner's like wants and needs as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, and how like you should want to make them feel loved and wanted and valued as well. Even if like, I just feel like sometimes people don't think about that.
Yeah.
They're just like only thinking about themselves, and their fears and, you know, not wanting to be confrontational or whatever it is. But it's like, you have to put all that down and think like, what does she want or need from me in this moment?
Yeah.
And then even if it's uncomfortable and it's not hurting you, you do that.
Yeah.
Because she needs you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. This doesn't even have to be something that deep, but she's reading into it deeply because you're not doing it. Like you're you know, it is a little abnormal. Most guys would acknowledge, I wouldn't say most guys, I don't like to speak in those type of terms, but a lot of guys would be like, especially if people are hitting on your girl in front of you, I'm assuming maybe she's just really attractive if she's getting all this attention and you're standing right there. Or other guys just sense that like you're not about that life and they're going to disrespect her in front of you. I don't know.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm just playing. I'm just messing. But I am saying, yeah, it's her not knowing how to like, because clearly if she wrote this in, she doesn't understand it either. Like, what is going on?
She's still
why do I feel this way, and why is this his reaction? And then, of course, you know, he hasn't responded because we don't have his response. But I can only imagine what men will say, you know, if a girl feels that way. Like, oh, she must want you to be jealous and she must want you to fight. And it's like, no, man, stop being shallow. Stop being willfully ignorant. That's not what she's saying.
A lot of us are just so simple. I can't speak for all women because, yes, there are some women out there who want to see a good fight, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
But those are the immature women. Sorry. But it is the truth.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I just feel like most of us, I love your idea of just like pulling her in closer. Yeah. You know, like you don't even have to say anything. Yeah. Just a little, like give us a little something.
Yeah. It
to show us like you heard that and you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And
that you care that it happened and you care if other guys are hitting on her. Even if they're not disrespecting her, it could just be like, hey, this is my girl. Like, ain't nobody, y'all can't take my girl. Or I care enough where like, I don't want to lose her, so I'm pulling her towards me. It's just those subtle, like, it's just this, it's a human thing. It's like, it's just a small like token of just like, confirmation. And it's like little things like that, right? It doesn't have to be, I know like men will dress us up as logic, like, oh, we're just logical people and women are emotional, but no. We're all emotional. We're all emotional.
Yeah, it's so funny because like, because I know I've been saying that lately because of that's like what we've been conditioned growing up, right? Is like men are logical, like, but yeah, no, like if you take away like those genders,
Yeah.
like we all literally are essentially the same.
No, I'm telling you,
We
I'm
really
going to,
are.
one day I'm going to go through all of the cliche talking points and the cliche, men are this and women are that, and why they might hold a little validity. Sometimes, usually the validity is set in society as forced that, as opposed to like, this is not normal human behavior. We've just grown to behave this way in a society that's the norm. That's the societal norm. However, it's not our natural state. I'm gonna go through one day and go
I
again,
would love that.
because I'm telling you, there's so many that's like, oh, men do this and women do this, and it's like, no, we all kind of do that. Like we all are emotional at the end of the day as humans. Now, men would cry just as much as women in a lot of situations. And we're told not to. And so we suppress
safe enough
yeah,
to.
if they felt safe enough to. But we're not. We're suppress it. And then men will be like, well, like women have the safe spaces to cry. Yeah, because they gave that to themselves.
Yeah.
Men took that away from themselves.
That is so
Women
true.
didn't take that away from us. That's why I always laugh at this just like blame game. It's crazy. It's like, no, like as men, if I would accept my homeboy. Now, if I'm like 22 and one of my friends came crying to me, I'd probably make fun of him, right? Like women don't do that to each other.
Yeah.
So it sets
we
that
don't.
tone.
We console each other.
Yeah, so
We're
it sets
like,
the tone over the course of time where it's like, all right, man, if I go and cry in front of my homies, like they're not gonna accept me. But women don't do that. So now, and then we get older and we're like, oh, men can't show emotion. And it's like, yeah, because at when you were 18, you made fun of every kid that was like emotional and called them soft, right?
That
so we
is
all
so
just grew these
sad.
tough like skeleton systems, right? Or these tough like skeletal structures that didn't allow us to be.
Men go through a lot.
Yeah, man, we put ourselves through a lot. That's the problem, right?
Yeah,
so
I didn't want to say it.
I'll say it. And so, yeah, I know this story seems to have gone into multiple different tangents, but I feel like these are again, why it's okay to show your girl that you value your relationship. It's not soft. It's not weak.
No.
You can use the argument that you don't want to be, you're not going to be jealous and fight every guy and you're so secure in your relationship, but that's not what she's asking. So no one told you, like you're arguing a moot point.
It's not cute to us that
women
you
don't
all
want you,
are like that every single time.
Yeah,
no.
women don't want Batman out here. They just want like, hey man, show me like this relationship means something to you. And those little subtle things do. They just do. And if you're a confrontational guy, like if you stand on business in every other situation, then that's just you like willfully not doing it when it comes to your girl, right? If you're just oblivious in the rest of your life, then okay, whatever. Maybe you get a pass there. But yeah, I don't know. I can keep going around about this, but I just feel like at the end of the day, we got to start kind of destroying some of these. It's okay for some of these gender roles to exist because, right, like men being protectors, men being leaders. If you're a good protector, if you're a good leader, being heads of the household, being heads of the family, there's proven data that shows that, strong family structures where the man is the head of the household fare well. And I'm sure there's data that would show that a woman, handling her business does fare pretty well too. However, things like human nature things, again, like emotion, emotion being like I'm not saying every man has to be vulnerable or that you are vulnerable, but I'm saying that like as humans, we all have anger, sadness,
fear,
happiness, fear, and men tend to be the ones who are quick to suppress all of that. And so, we got to get to a society where we are accepting of that and then make it not only accepted but encouraged, so that we're not dealing with a bunch of personal stuff and no one ever knows about it, right?
Yeah.
And we're just like going through it internally, and then you have a woman who has no idea what you're going through, and you're either taking it out on her or she just doesn't understand you in totality, and now she doesn't even know how to communicate with you because your communication is based on this false person. It's not really who you are.
Yeah.
So, she doesn't know how to communicate with him. It's okay to have this conversation and say, hey, I feel a way when you don't say anything about guys hitting on me. I don't want you to be jealous. I don't want you to beat people up, but like, it just makes me feel secure.
Yeah.
And hopefully he can respond in a positive manner.
Absolutely. Yeah. She should definitely ask him, like, I want to know like how you feel when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he needs to be open and honest about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so important. And at least that way, like her just the way that she's thinking, her thoughts of like, you know, does he even care? Does he value our relationship, etc., can be like laid to rest, you know, just depending on his response to it. But
so you know, just have the conversation with the guy. You got to give him a chance to at least see how he reacts to it, and tell him how you feel. And then kind of gauge it from there. That way you at least know, and I can't tell you, because I don't know his personality, I can't tell you what's going on. I can just give you kind of like your first angle.
Just,
one of my angles, different angles of what could be happening. And then you have to kind of base it off of what his behavior is normally. And then have the communication with him where you tell them, and also dig deep inside of you and figure out like why it makes you feel that way. And that way you can kind of start to understand your own feelings, so that when you're communicating with him, you don't just sound shallow, like, hey, I want you to beat people up for me. It's like, no, there's a little bit of deeper meaning, because a guy typically wants, like, a lot of us wouldn't understand that about our girl. If she just came to us and said, hey, like, you're like, this guy hit on me and you're not going to say anything to him. Like, a lot of us would be like, no, like, why you want me to fight people in the street? Like, that would be the conversation.
But that's that being the initial reaction.
That's not the real conversation. That's not really what's happening on either side here. You're just living in two completely different worlds. So it's on her to kind of dig a little bit deeper and see why she feels that way. And then she could bring that communication. Hey, it's not like I want you to fight every guy, but it also shows a little bit of like, hey, you're my protector, right? And the guy's going to respond to that, because he's going to be like, oh, no, like, I'll protect you. Like, I want to protect you. And then me not fighting people doesn't mean I'm not protecting you. It's like, I don't want you to fight people. I want to know that you see that it's happening, and you value me, and you pull me in close because I'm yours. And I love being yours, but I want you to love it as well. So
absolutely,
I don't know. That's all I got.
No, I love that. That's all we want.
We're talking in circles, but I was trying. Hopefully, I got the gist of what I'm saying here.
This was incredible. And I know we've said this before, but just going through all just the different scenarios and what could be, I think is like really important, because people are really going through this.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that was good.
Yeah,
that
women,
was really
I know.
great advice.
Like women, you don't want your man to be. I know you don't want to be fighting people. A little bit of like him showing jealousy really is just like you feeling loved. I know it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's so weird to say that. But it does make it's like, oh, he worries about it. You know what I mean? And it's like, I get it. We shouldn't worry. You should trust your partner fully. And it doesn't mean you don't. But it also shows a little bit of like, oh, like, I hold on. Like, let me make sure people know it's my girl.
Yeah.
Because and it just shows her that, yeah.
I also think that it depends on like how long you've been together as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's true. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like early years, even like maybe the first like 10 years, you want your partner to like acknowledge things like that and like kind of react a little bit. And then I think like maybe later on, it's just like you probably don't think too much of it because you've been together for so long.
Yeah.
But like, we're 8 years in and you still are a little, like you're not fighting people in the streets or anything.
No.
I feel like a lot of people are like respectful for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that anyone's like ever like screamed at me and like waved me down or anything like that.
But like take it to like a because they were talking about getting on trains and stuff. Take it to like a social media aspect of it, and it's like, nah, people on social media know you're my girl, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because I value the relationship, and I value you, and I'm your protector, and also I don't want another dude hitting on you and like, not knowing, there's still that little bit of like, oh, I never want my girl to leave me. And what if some better guy comes along? Look, I don't mind admitting that fear. I don't think it would ever happen. But it's not like we ever thought about like, oh man, like, Yeah.
I do think that it's like crazy to kind of like go through your relationship being like, oh, like,
I'm so secure that nothing could ever
she'll never
happen.
leave me, or like no one could ever take her away from me. It's like, but also are you doing the work to ensure that doesn't happen?
Well, and that's why I liked your first angle, because a lot of times that insecurity stems from you knowing you're not putting in the work.
Yeah.
And that's why if a girl does cheat, oh, the guy is like, he's devastated and he has he's just blindsided, but he be knowing like, yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, I kind of did that a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Not to say it's his fault. It's not.
No.
No one deserves to be cheated.
Yeah, we do not condone cheating.
But
by any
at the end of the day, like I am a person of accountability, like looking internally and saying, hey, like what could I either did to avoid that, or what could I did to change that situation? It doesn't shoot the person any bail, and it doesn't say, hey, like you were okay in doing that, but it does allow me to grow from this experience and move forward, in hopes that it doesn't happen again, because I learned from whatever I might have did to contribute to that. It doesn't mean you're justifying their behavior.
Yeah.
But it also, it's also like, if you walk down a dark alley and someone kidnaps you, and it's like, all right, it's not your fault. You should be allowed to walk down dark alleys.
Right.
You should be. Like, no one, you should, and without fear. But if you do, now you know.
There's a risk.
There's a risk
and
to
it.
it.
Happened.
Right. That's all this is. You're not justifying the kidnapping, but you're saying, let's maybe not walk down dark alleys.
Yes.
Right? So that's all this is.
We need to do it like a cheaters episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that is so fucking common.
Yeah.
Sadly. Yeah. Like it's common. We've all been through it.
Yeah. We talked about cheating before, but it's like, we never
we need a deep dive. I just feel like there's so much more to it than like the surface level.
Yeah, than the surface level. For sure.
Yeah.
Guys and girls.
Like a lot of these topics that we discuss.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why we go on like the tangents that we go on, because it's like, there's so much more. And like when something comes up, like the gender roles, right? Like it is just so important to tackle that thing and tackle it right then as well, because like,
because there's negative gender roles and there's positive gender roles, and those negative ones really, really affect us.
They do.
They really affect us, both men and women. It does, and so they definitely deserve to be talked about. But
yeah.
Well,
I feel like we gave her more than she asked for.
Yeah, a little bit, but I just like
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a really deep one.
Yep.
It was so good to think about.
For such a kind of a basic story, there's a lot more to it, and that's what we try to do is like, even these basic stories, we just like try to get to the human level of these things, as opposed to giving just like the same regurgitated, cliche advice, because that doesn't apply to everybody. But what does apply to everybody are kind of the deeper emotions and things that humans do go through, as opposed to, if your man cheats on you, you need to leave him. And it's like, sure, that's probably true. But like, let's dig deep into the human emotion and the behavior attached to that, right?
Yes.
Your man's not responding to guys hitting on you. That sounds kind of shallow, right? But let's talk about the deeper meaning of that, so that we can kind of like gain some understanding of ourselves and humans alike, and then our communication can get better going forward from there.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of these stories give you more than you realize.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like what they're asking you is not what they're really asking you.
It's
you
not
what they're really asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of us don't think on that like psychological level, and that's okay. Like not all of us were taught that.
Yeah.
We haven't gone to school for psychology.
Listen.
But like we have, the internet, we have AI at our fingertips. Like I feel like we really do need to understand like humans as a whole.
Yeah, because we are trying to repair the relationship between men and women, because it is completely broken right now.
Yeah.
It's completely broken. So much so the girl is getting hit on and she doesn't know how to tell her dude, like, hey, I feel a way about it, right? Like, and that's a simple that's a simple example, right? But like, you just see the state of the world right now, and it's just, or at least in America, but like men versus women is typically all you see, and there's just such a breakdown of like communication and understanding, so much to the point of we got to the extent of like men just hating women and women responding to that by hating men. And that's like, what I don't know what's going on, but these things that they're prescribing you guys are just making it worse.
Yeah,
they're just making it worse. This whole like, it's just like, well, this everything seems to be controlling now. Like it's controlling so that we can guarantee outcomes. And it's like, no, how about we find more of a more improvised way of understanding each other, and then finding common ground, so that we can so that we're not controlled, that we chose this love. Yeah. Yes. Like not forced this love, I hear like rhetoric of like, oh, they should outlaw divorce. Outside of like abuse, like, you should outlaw uncontested divorce, and it's to like keep families together. And it's like, you guys would rather that? Well, it's not even about like, the understanding is that like it keeps families together and it makes a stronger economy. Cool. But it's like, what if we just found ways for us to get along better?
Yeah.
and want to stay in the relationship so that we're not unhappy. Right?
It's
like for me, that just makes more sense as opposed to saying like, let's force it so that like we can guarantee the outcome. That's great. But now everybody's fucking depressed and our mental health is trashed, right? Let's just
Absolutely.
what are we talking about?
It's always like putting a Band-Aid on something.
That's exactly what it is.
Instead of
Never going to the root of the problem.
Let's like figure this shit out. It's like depression. Like I have depression. I go to the doctor. She's like, how about some Zoloft?
Yeah, and it's like
and I'm
Band-Aid.
like,
yeah.
Can we like figure out like why?
Yeah,
what is wrong? Like,
Yep.
you know, with my brain chemically or whatever's going on.
So I can work on it and just be happy like naturally. And then I can and then we can have like natural happy relationships. It's crazy. It's crazy that the prescription is like forced things as opposed to like, hey, let's just go to the root of the problem and fix that. So that we don't have to force a relationship because we love each other so much and we know how to compromise and we know how to get through things that we don't have to worry about divorce, right? We don't have to, you know what I mean? Like divorce is going to happen,
exactly.
But it's just like that's no fix. That's no fix. I'd rather us learn each other the correct way and learn ourselves the correct way. So that not only are we choosing the right partners based on what we like and don't like, but that when we do have confrontation within those relationships, we know how to deal with them.
I love
that's
that.
That's
yeah.
It. And that's what I hope we do with this podcast.
That's our biggest goal.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I hear too much cookie cutter advice. And I'm not saying I'm the guru of this shit. I'm just saying like I'd rather understand people. And that's why I give grace more than I tear people down.
Yeah.
There are some instances where it's like, hey, there's no, you know, there's no alternative for this. This is what you should do.
Right.
But in most cases, we're talking about humans that are making mistakes and are behaving bad, but might be good people ultimately. Like we're talking about all these things that we all do and are hypocritical because we will judge the next person for doing it, and just lacking complete understanding. And it's like, no. Let's kind of rewind the tape here and get to like the root cause. Let's be a little more honest. Let's be a little bit open instead of being egotistical.
Yes.
And thinking that we're right in every situation.
All that to the side.
Yeah, and that men are this and women are this. It's not that. Like. All right, but anyways, I go on forever.
Yes.
This is a long one. This is a long one. So.
We'll revisit that in a completely separate episode, of course. But
guys, thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and please drop your feedback here. We'd love to hear your opinions on this topic and just on everything we discussed today. Love it for debate. Shoot us your stories if you have any. I am Breeze Oliver.
I'm Kerushi Drake.
And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
We'll see you next time.
Peace out.